At a holiday party, I said, I can't wait for the reunion tomorrow. My brother chuckled. What? It happened yesterday. My aunt showed me her phone. There were photos of everyone there. My brother shrugged. Guess I forgot to tell you, ha ha. I left without a word. But they were the ones who regretted it. My name is Rachel, and I've always been the odd one out in my family. Not because I did anything wrong, but because, somehow, my success made me the enemy. I grew up in a middle-class home where money was tight, but I worked my ass off to build a life for myself. I got a scholarship to a great college, landed a high-paying job in finance, and now, at 32, I'm doing better than I ever thought possible. I'm not a millionaire, but I'm comfortable. I own my home outright, travel when I want. And up until recently, I sent money to my family every month just to help out. I never expected gratitude, but I also never expected them to betray me like this. I should have seen the signs years ago. My mom always favored my brother, Mark, the golden child who could do no wrong. He bounced from job to job, never taking responsibility for anything. But somehow, he was always trying his best while I was too serious about work or thinking I'm better than everyone. My sister, Lisa, was no better. She was the queen of passive-aggressive comments, always making sure to remind me that money doesn't buy happiness while conveniently forgetting that she had no problem cashing the checks I sent her when she was behind on rent. And then there was my dad, who just went along with whatever my mom said, never standing up for me, never calling out the blatant favoritism. But despite it all, I still tried. Every holiday, I came home with gifts. Every family dinner, I paid the bill. Every time one of them needed help, I was there. I thought, foolishly, that maybe if I kept giving, they'd finally accept me. Instead, they decided to show me exactly where I stood. It started at a holiday party, just a casual get-together at my parents' house. We were all sitting around the dining room table, plates filled with my mom's signature overcooked turkey when I smiled and said, I can't wait for the reunion tomorrow. It'll be nice to see everyone again. For a second, there was silence. Then Mark let out a short chuckle. What? The reunion was yesterday. I blinked. What? Lisa smirked. Sipping her wine like this was the most entertaining thing she'd seen all night. Yeah, it was yesterday. Didn't Mom tell you? I turned to my mother, heart pounding. You told me it was on the 23rd. She shrugged, not even looking guilty. Oops, must have gotten the dates mixed up. Mixed up? Mixed up? I wasn't some distant cousin they forgot to call. I was their daughter, their sister, and they had a whole family reunion without me. My aunt, who had been scrolling through her phone, held it up, showing me a picture. Everyone was there. My cousins, my uncles, my nieces and nephews. Mark, Lisa, my parents, smiling, laughing, arms around each other. And I hadn't even gotten a text. Mark grinned, shaking his head. Damn, that's awkward. Guess we forgot to mention it. Lisa giggled. Oops, my bad. LOL. Something inside me went ice cold. I put down my fork, stood up, and walked away from the table without another word. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked away, because in that moment, I knew this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't forgetfulness. They had done this on purpose and they were going to regret it. I walked out of the dining room, my footsteps steady, my breathing controlled. I didn't slam the door behind me. I didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me lose my temper. Instead, I grabbed my coat from the hallway and stepped outside into the cold winter air, letting it bite at my skin as I processed what had just happened. They had planned this. They had all known. My mother, my father, my brother, my sister, every single one of them had looked me in the eye, smiled at me, and let me sit there like an idiot while they laughed about forgetting to tell me. I pulled my phone from my pocket and scrolled through my messages. Nothing. No missed calls, no texts, not even a half-assed wish you were here message. I wasn't even an afterthought. A dull ache settled in my chest, but I forced myself to push it down. I had spent years pretending their favoritism didn't bother me, that their little digs and cold shoulders didn't sting. But this was different. This was deliberate. This was them making a statement. I stared out at the quiet street, watching as snowflakes drifted down under the glow of the streetlights. I should have just gotten in my car and left, driven back to my house, and cut them out of my life right then and there. But I didn't because I wanted to see how far they would take this. After a few minutes, I forced myself to take a deep breath and turn back toward the house. The laughter inside continued as if nothing had happened. I pushed open the door and stepped back inside, hanging my coat up as if I had only stepped out for a breath of fresh air. My fingers were cold, but I didn't rub my hands together. I wanted the chill to settle into my bones, to remind me of what they had done. When I walked back into the dining room, my family barely acknowledged my return. My mother was slicing into a piece of pie, my father was refilling his glass of wine, and Lisa and Mark were whispering to each other, grinning. I pulled my chair back out and sat down. Lisa raised an eyebrow. Thought you left. I met her gaze, my face unreadable. Why would I leave? It's just a silly mistake, right? She gave me a slow, knowing smile. Of course, just a little mix-up. Mark snickered. You're taking this way too seriously. It's not like we did it on purpose. I leaned back in my chair. You all had an entire family reunion. Everyone was there. You had to coordinate food, drinks, decorations. Someone had to organize a venue, set a date, send out invitations, but not one of you remembered to text me. I tilted my head slightly. You expect me to believe that? My mother sighed dramatically as if I were the one being difficult. Rachel, don't be like this. It's the holidays. Let's not ruin the mood over a simple mistake. A simple mistake. I glanced around the table watching the way they all avoided my eyes, waiting for me to just drop it and move on like I always did. I could feel the expectation in the air. This was the part where I was supposed to sigh, brush it off, and pretend I wasn't hurt. That's what I had always done. Not this time. I picked up my fork, twirling it idly between my fingers. You know, I said, keeping my tone light, I've been thinking a lot about the monthly money I send you all. That got their attention. Lisa sat up a little straighter. My mother's eyes flickered with something close to panic. My father, who had been silent up until now, finally looked up from his plate. What about it? Mark asked, the suspicion in his voice unmistakable. I set my fork down gently. I just think it's interesting. I help pay Lisa's rent when she falls behind. I cover Mom and Dad's medical bills. I even send Mark money when he needs a little extra for whatever it is he does these days. I let the words settle before adding, and yet, somehow, I wasn't important enough to be invited to the family reunion. Silence. Lisa forced out a laugh, but it was nervous now. Oh, come on. You're not actually mad about this, are you? I didn't answer. Mark, on the other hand, scoffed. Look, you're acting crazy. It was just a mix-up, Rachel. Nobody's out to get you. And besides, he added, waving his fork in the air, you're doing fine. It's not like you need the reunion. You've got your fancy job, your nice house, your perfect little life. Oh, there it was. The jealousy, the bitterness, the resentment that had been bubbling under the surface for years, disguised as jokes, hidden behind backhanded compliments. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You're right, Mark. I do have a great life. Lisa gave me a sharp look. Rachel, don't be petty. I let out a soft of amusement. Petty? You mean like throwing an entire family reunion and conveniently forgetting to invite me? No one spoke. Then, Mark rolled his eyes. Oh my God, you are so dramatic. You always have to act like a victim, don't you? He shoved another bite of food into his mouth, shaking his head. Whatever, you'll get over it, just like you always do. I watched him chew, a smirk playing on his lips like he had already won, like they had all won, and that's when he said it. Besides, he added, wiping his mouth with a napkin, I already ordered those new Jordans with the money you send me every month. You wouldn't actually cut us off over something this stupid, right? The room went deadly quiet. My mother's eyes widened, her fork hovering mid-air. Lisa stiffened. My father cleared his throat awkwardly, pretending to focus on his plate. Mark, oblivious, just grinned. I mean, come on, you wouldn't do that to your family. And just like that, the decision was made. I set my napkin down, folded my hands neatly in my lap, and smiled. Wouldn't I? Mark's grin faltered. He blinked at me, waiting for me to laugh it off, to wave my hand and tell him I was just joking, but I wasn't joking. The silence stretched heavy and suffocating as realization settled over the table. My mother opened her mouth and closed it. Lisa shifted in her seat, her fingers tightening around her fork. Even my father, usually content to stay out of these things, finally looked up and met my gaze with an expression I couldn't quite read. Mark, on the other hand, scoffed. Oh, come on, he said, his voice dripping with forced confidence. You're not actually serious. I tilted my head slightly, watching him squirm. You think I keep sending you money? I said slowly. After you all pulled this? Lisa forced out a short, nervous laugh. Rachel, you're being ridiculous. You know Mark didn't mean it like that. Oh. I leaned forward slightly, resting my elbows on the table. Then how did he mean it? Mark let out an exasperated sigh and tossed his napkin onto the table. Jesus, you are so sensitive. You're acting like we murdered your dog or something. We just forgot, okay? You're making a huge deal out of nothing. I nodded thoughtfully. Right, just a little mistake. My mother jumped in then, her voice saccharine sweet. Rachel, honey, we love you. You know that. We're family. She reached across the table, placing her hand over mine. Let's not let a simple misunderstanding ruin that. I stared at her hand, then at her face, the carefully constructed mask of motherly concern. The same mask she had worn every time she had dismissed my feelings. Every time she had brushed off their favoritism like I was the one imagining things. And I realized something right then and there. They weren't sorry. Not for what they had done. Not for how they had treated me. They were sorry because I was finally standing up for myself. I pulled my hand away. You know, I'm used. I wonder how different this conversation would be if I didn't send you all money every month. My father cleared his throat. Rachel. I held up a hand. No, really. Would any of you even be trying to smooth this over if I weren't your personal bank account? No one answered. Lisa had the audacity to look offended. That's not fair. We care about you. I let out a soft laugh. You care about what I can do for you? Mark rolled his eyes. Oh my God. Here we go again. You always have to play the victim. Maybe we didn't invite you because we didn't want to deal with this exact kind of drama. I arched an eyebrow. Then you won't have to deal with it anymore. The tension in the air shifted. My mother's expression flickered with unease. My father looked down at his plate, pretending to be uninterested, but I saw his fingers tighten around his fork. Lisa's mouth pressed into a thin line. And Mark? Mark just laughed. Oh, please. You're not gonna cut us off. You're too nice for that. I smiled. I guess you'll find out. Mark's face fell. I stood up, smoothing my dress, and grabbed my purse from the back of my chair. The whole table watched me like I was about to detonate a bomb. Rachel, my mother said, her voice edging toward panic now, don't be rash. We're family. You don't just turn your back on family. I turned to look at her, my expression unreadable. You all turned your backs on me a long time ago. With that, I walked toward the door. Wait, Lisa blurted out, scrambling to her feet. You're not actually serious, right? You're not really cutting us off. I opened the front door. The cold air rushed in, cutting through the warm, suffocating air of the house. I looked over my shoulder, my voice calm, almost casual. Enjoy the shoes, Mark. And then I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. I barely made it to my car before my phone started buzzing. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then Lisa. Ignored. Then surprise, surprise, Mark. I smirked to myself, shaking my head as I climbed into the driver's seat. That didn't take long. I wasn't even out of the driveway when the first text came in. Okay, very funny. You made your point. Can you send the money now? I rolled my eyes and put my phone on silent. The drive home was peaceful. For the first time in years, I felt a strange sense of freedom. I didn't have to play the role of the nice one anymore. The one who always forgave, always gave, always put up with their nonsense. I was done, but they were just getting started. By the time I got home, my phone had exploded with messages. Lisa had sent, Rachel, don't be so dramatic. Family is family. Mom said, you don't mean this. We raised you better than this. Dad, uncharacteristically brief, just sent, call your mother. And then there was Mark, who had sent far too many messages for someone who supposedly didn't care. At first, it was the usual Mark nonsense, mocking, condescending, assuming I'd cave like always. You're really cutting us off over this? Unreal? Then another, what are you gonna do? Spend all your money on candles and fancy pillows? Come on. Then a final jab. Fine. Be petty. Whatever. Then the shift happened. Hey, okay, listen, I kind of need that money. Like, soon. I smirked. Here we go. I ordered some stuff expecting you to send it this month. Oh, now he was admitting it. It's not just the shoes. I may have also gotten a new TV. I raised an eyebrow and a PS5 and a laptop, but I had it all planned out. Your transfer was supposed to come in today. Rach, come on. I took a slow sip of my tea, scrolling further. You're seriously not answering? This isn't funny. They're gonna charge my card tomorrow. Rachel, I don't have the money to cover it. Do you want me to go into debt? I nearly choked on my tea. Oh, this was gold. Mark wasn't just inconvenienced. He was in real trouble. For years, he had lived with this smug confidence, knowing I'd always come through, always help. He had spent money he didn't have because he assumed I would keep paying. And now he was desperate. A notification popped up, incoming call from Mark. I let it ring. Then another and another. Then a message, short and to the point. Pick up the phone. I sat back watching my screen, a slow grin forming on my face. For the first time ever, I was the one in control. They thought I'd just roll over, that I'd let them gaslight me into believing it was my fault, that I was being unreasonable. But they forgot one very important thing. I was done being the family's ATM. And Mark? Mark was about to learn exactly what that meant. I put my phone down and stretched out on the couch, feeling more relaxed than I had in years. Let them squirm. Let them panic. I wasn't their safety net anymore, and they were about to feel what that really meant. Mark had always been reckless with money, but this was something else. He had gone ahead and racked up a bunch of charges on his credit card, fully expecting me to cover them like I always had. And now that I wasn't playing along, he was spiraling. I scrolled through his messages again, shaking my head. A new TV, a PS5, a laptop, and that was on top of the expensive shoes he'd already mentioned earlier. How much had he actually spent? Knowing Mark, he'd probably gone for the top-of-the-line versions of everything, assuming it didn't matter because I was footing the bill. But now the reality was hitting him hard. I put my phone on silent and turned on the TV, ready to enjoy my evening. But before I could even pick something to watch, my phone lit up again. Another call from Mark. Then another. And another. He was relentless. I ignored them all. But then, after a few minutes, my phone buzzed with a message from Mom. "Rachel, call your brother now." I scoffed. Oh, now she cared. Funny how that worked. Then another one. "This is serious. He's in trouble. You need to help him." I took my time finishing my drink before even considering a response. Then, a message from Lisa. "Okay, look, I get that you're mad, but you've made your point. Can you just send the money now? He's freaking out." I grinned. They were starting to crack. Then Mark again. "Rachel, if you don't send the money tonight, I'll be in trouble. Do you get that? I can't pay for this." "Oh, I got it. All right." I let another 15 minutes pass. The messages kept coming. Then, finally, one that really made me laugh. "Rachel, please." There it was. The desperation. I let that one sit unanswered for another 10 minutes before finally picking up the phone and calling Mark. He picked up on the first string. Finally, "Rachel, what the hell? You've been ignoring me all night." I leaned back on the couch. "Oh, I saw your messages. I was just busy." "Busy? Busy doing what?" "Relaxing." You made a sound of pure frustration. "Rachel, you don't get it." "I know, Mark, you don't get it." My voice was calm, but firm. "You assumed I'd keep paying for you. You didn't even ask. You just went ahead and spent money you didn't have because you thought I'd be there to bail you out." Again, there was silence on the other end. Then he scoffed. "Oh, come on. You're really this mad over some dumb reunion? It was a mistake. We forgot to tell you. Big deal. But now you're punishing me for it? That's insane." I shook my head. "No, Mark, this isn't about the reunion. It's about the fact that I'm done. Done being treated like a walking wallet. Done being lied to. Done being used." His voice rose. "Used? Oh my God, Rachel, you're so dramatic. You're acting like we're stealing from you. We're family. You have money. It's not like it's a big deal to you." There it was. The entitlement, the expectation, the sheer audacity of it. I let out a short laugh. "Wow, you really don't see it, do you?" "See what? That you're being completely unreasonable?" "No. That I don't owe you anything. I was helping because I wanted to. But now, I don't want it anymore." "You can't be serious," he breathed. "Rachel, you can't do this. I already spent the money. I can't just return everything." "Not my problem," I said simply. "You don't get it," he snapped. "They're going to charge my card at midnight. If I don't have the money, my account is going to overdraft. You're just going to let that happen." I was quiet for a moment, letting his panic settle in. Then I spoke, my voice calm. "Yes, I am." He let out a strangled laugh, like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Rachel, Rachel, come on. Just this one last time. Just send it, and I swear, I'll never ask again." I sighed. "That's what you said last time. In the time before that. In the time before that. This is different." "No, it's not. It's exactly the same. You made a reckless decision thinking I'd clean up your mess, but I'm not doing that anymore." "Rachel," his voice cracked slightly. "Please." I almost felt a twinge of sympathy. Almost. But then I remembered every time I'd been dismissed, every time they'd laughed at me, every time they treated me like an outsider in my own family. I stood firm. "You'll figure it out," I said. "Good luck." Then I hung up. Within seconds, my phone started buzzing again. I ignored it. Then a message from Lisa. "What did you just say to him?" "He's freaking out." I didn't answer. Then Mom, "Rachel, you are being cruel. He's your brother. You have to help him." "No, I didn't." And finally, another message from Mark. "You're gonna regret this." I smiled, turned off my phone, and went to bed. Let him panic. Let them all panic. Because for once, I wasn't the one losing sleep over it. The next morning, I woke up to a ridiculous amount of missed calls and messages. Mark, Lisa, Mom, one after another, all trying to get me to cave. But I had already made my decision. I wasn't backing down. I took my time getting out of bed, made myself a nice breakfast, and scrolled through my messages while sipping my coffee. Most of them were the same: guilt-tripping, whining, and demands. But then, I saw something new. "Rachel, I swear to God, if you don't send the money, I'll come to your house myself." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh? A threat now?" Then another message. This one from Mom. "Mark is on his way over. Please just talk to him. I set my cup down and sighed.